G'day, listeners. This episode is proudly brought to you by our sponsors, supshq.com.au. Use BWB15 at checkout to receive 15% off and direct shipping.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between, to another episode of Bros with Brains, here with Mr. Benjamin Button Mayfield Smith, all the way from, I'm going to say, overcast Queensland.
It is terrible today.
Yeah, it's overcast here too, but it's like 19 degrees. It's hot outside. Like, it's fucked. Anyway, it's muggy as shit today. Yeah.
Then what's going on? Out this morning doing bike outside on the balcony. It was...
I don't know if I'm going through menopause when I walk outside. I'm like, am I hormonal? I don't know, because I'm hot, but I'm not. I don't know.
You can smell the menstruation.
Yeah, like it's one of those weird things, man. But we won't talk about it. Anyway, how
I've had
are
like
we?
great weather. Like the last week, I've just been hitting sun and getting tanned, and then today I was like, cool, storm, rain, and then tomorrow it's like storm, rain. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's like perfect.
That'd be right. I mean, take advantage while you can, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's like perfect. Sit down and watch a movie and fall asleep weather. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's like that's what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything else.
That's what you get.
Doctor's orders,
and I'm doing that.
That's it.
Yes. How is it?
Yeah, man, I'm fucking tired, bro. Tired. Moving house is such a bitch. It's not moving house that's a bitch. It's just the situation that was dealt was a bitch. Like, had removalists come in one morning. They saw all my gym equipment in the garage, even though I'd already sent them photos beforehand and sort of explained, like, I've got, 6-7 pieces of equipment, plates, bars, as well as the entire house that needs to be moved.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And they're like, yeah, cool, no stress. We'll be able to do it. They get there, they look at it. They're like, sorry, we can't do it. I'm like, said you could. And now you can't. Organize another removalist for literally the next day. Supposed to be coming at like 8 a.m. They were supposed to be there between 7:30 and 8 a.m. I get a call at 7:45. The truck's broken down on the freeway like 15 minutes away. Like, okay. So we're going to get a mechanic out. Worst case, we'll get you a new truck. Okay, cool. Didn't hear anything till 10:30. I called them. I'm like, so what's going on? Still waiting on that mechanic, but we're going to send you a new truck instead, just in case, because we're not sure how long it's going to take. It should get there between 11:30 and 12. Okay, cool. 11:45. Get a call. We're still an hour away.
Oh, fuck.
So moved an entire house, or basically 85% of a house, between 1 p.m. and like 5 p.m. So by the time they loaded it, then got to the new place and unloaded it, it was like 5:30 or something like that.
Christ.
And there was more stuff to put in because they didn't fit it in the first truck, like by itself. I was like, okay, so we're going to have to do it the following morning. So this morning, being now Wednesday, got up, the removals came at 6:30 this morning to put all the rest of the shit in. And now it's all in. Now the house is a mess, but whatever. New place. Literally street behind my dad's house. It's great. Walk past his house. I'm just like, hello, goodbye.
So long, gay boy.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
mate,
that's good because I'm going to make him buy me breakfast every morning.
Earned a holiday phase, I think.
Oh, bro, I'm fucking cooked after what's been
going on. You finally got a bit of downtime after like, getting the business up and running and getting back to coaching, and then it's like, here's man, the stress of moving house.
Bro, it's not even like moving house. It's the fact that just all the shit that could go wrong went wrong. It's like, for fuck's sake, really? Like, come on.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah, well, if I'd done it my way, it wouldn't have been a problem, but we won't get into that. People are illogical. We won't talk about it. Anyway, these things happen. What can do? How is you going up in Brisbane town?
We're getting to the fun part now. We've officially crossed the territory of a condition that I've never been in before, which is good. So everything to me beyond this point is brand new and mentally, what's the word? Like I'm 99% lean, better than the population lean.
Yep.
Now it's about getting into that disgusting condition that I'd never achieved before. And I think this is the best ever chance I've had to get it. And yeah, it's just at a point now where I'm I'm gonna say more so than anything, like having been what I practice myself and teach my clients, like I'm battling my own head now most days. That um, it's interesting to kind of summarize it. The first 12 to 16 weeks, right, of your prep, you'll see minuscule changes week to week, except when you look back in hindsight, say 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. In this last window here of say 4, 6, we'll say 6, 7 weeks, it's like you start seeing changes daily. So the rate of progression where you see like those first 12 weeks to 16 weeks where it's like, oh, this rate I'm not going to make it. But then you start to see everything just like ramps up, everything's meeting at the same time, it's synergistic, everything's happening. You're driving the output, you're pulling food down, you're increasing supplementation. It all just starts to like spiral together. And what was taking like a week to get a result is now like, okay, so this day I'm feeling dry here. This day this is happening. And it's like noticeable. So for me, it was like that old headspace was, the rate of loss previously, this was happening and I was taking too long to dry it here. Now it's like each day I'm seeing something different and it's like remotivating me to drive it even harder. So I'm like, oh, so like, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. So yeah, it's an interesting point for me to be where I am. I'm just kind of at the point now I was just ticking boxes and getting through everything. I've like obviously, like I said, so last week, I've taken on my last onboarding of clients for a little while. Everyone's happy and taken care of, and programs are out. Had a really good phase of outsourcing, like we've talked about before, not being afraid to outsource. Several clients and new clients that needed almost like priming phase and rebuilding phase in their programming. So I just sent them straight to Rowan, part of our team, and obviously someone I respect as a physio, as we've talked about before with physios. He works in conjunction with me, makes recommendations to what I'm already prescribing, what we're already doing. So it's never don't do what he says, just do this and don't train anything else. So got a few clients taking care there. So it's all happening and everyone's kind of like, it's really building a nice community aspect that I'm liking. That it's kind of like a what's the word? You come to me, but we've got things in and amongst that just make it all work well. So yeah, it's kind of like at this point we just close down any onboarding for the next probably 6 weeks. A few things after that, so I'll probably open back up in like 8 weeks or so. Have a few weeks off after the show where I just worry about getting everyone back in place. What we've got, new programs, all sort of shit. And yeah, pretty much just I went and it was definitely going to be. So, our protocol in the morning obviously changed, trying to push training back a little bit later in the day and getting cardio done fasted with supplementation. It was costing me 60 minutes in traffic and driving, adding the extra session to the gym with travel. So we went and picked up a magnetic stationary bike last night. So I can just literally wake up, get out of bed, go straight to cardio after sups. And that was a fucking game changer this morning. I could just literally just roll out of bed, have my fat burner, have my supplements, and just throw some trackies and hoodie on and just drive. So I just ride. So that was a big difference there. Like that extra half means like, more sleeping, more rest, more relaxing.
Well, yeah, I guess taking advantage of the time that you have, like just being more efficient with your time, right? Which I'm obviously very big on.
Yes, it's just exchanging that value of like, I think I got it for like $80 off marketplace. I'm like, yeah,
perfect.
I'll come get it.
Yeah,
so
it's easy buy.
Easy swap. That $80 versus the half hour every single day extra, so almost an hour, give or take, if I go to the gym twice. Just more so like, sweet, I can now just literally hop on the bike and go to town, get off, my feet up, have my first meal, go train, come back, and that sort of shit, hit posing, that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's all happening now. Like I said, state show is 3.5 weeks away. Nationals is 5.5 weeks away, which kind of lands like exactly where I hope to, as I think we talked about in my Road to Show episode on YouTube. I'm not someone who likes to arrive early because I feel like mentally for me, I'd take the foot off the gas. But at the same time, like I'm in that weird position where I also challenge myself mentally because then I'm like, I'm not ready at all. So it's like a weird conjuncture for me where I probably should be to just ease that head for me. But at the same time, like, oh yeah, probably could have drove a little bit harder, but now I'm here. Let's drive harder now. Get there exactly when I need to, and then be ready. Whereas, if I was ready early, be like, oh, I can just chill out now, and then probably have more food than I should, or like, risk eating more than I need to, and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's an interesting position for me. Again, never been here. Tom looks fucking stupid. Going to do some trial depletions for him and fill ups, peak week trials, have some refeeds, get some more food. And yeah, I'm pretty much just playing Sony every day and playing Game Boy and eating my meals and suffering
Pretty
this
much
week.
short of the energy deficit, you live in the dream.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, if I also had the capacity to grow the business alongside this, like that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. So a lot of
And to
people would
keep,
be hearing, a lot of people would be like, oh, he's doing nothing all day. It's like, no, it's because he physically can't do
yeah,
anything all day.
I'm physically at the position where it's like I had plans to like, oh, I'll finish off J3 at the back end of the prep. Nope, that's not
Oh,
happening.
oh.
I will retain 0. That's not
Mhm.
happening at all. But yeah, so that's pretty much where we are. And like, like I said, kind of like as of this week, we've done our first real dig, I guess you would call it. Pulling food down to the lowest it's ever been. Um, but still crazy reflection that I chose this and we've talked about it. I chose this and still my weight is 10 kilos above what my actual stage condition should have been at the last show. I'm on almost double the calories as the last time, so 2100 for this week. And I was on 1200 at the end of my prep last time at fucking hell. So everything there is better.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, it's obviously an appreciative position of you and what you were helping with, which I get very emotional in my own head and say many times, just in case you don't know it.
Just what I do, baby. It's just what I do.
But yes, it is definitely that back end point now where I just pass off the advice to someone else that can help with the calls and the decisions and stuff like that. Otherwise, knowing me, I just dig harder and dig deeper for no reason.
Exactly right.
Because bodybuilder.
Yeah, there's no reason. Just call me Red Skull.
I will have, as you can see, if you're watching YouTube's, the face is starting to sink in like Red Skull.
Yeah, finally. Your butt cheeks and your face cheeks are the longest, take the longest to
Yes, I
come
know.
in.
That's data for next prep is quads, butt cheeks, face cheeks.
Once they start coming in, we're like, all right, we're ready now. We're getting
ready.
there. We're getting there.
It's just what's the word I was saying to someone this morning? Like, I'm pretty much just like Beyonce. Like, I've just got like the biggest thing for me is just like I have a naturally fat ass. So it's like, I know it'll be one of those interesting things we look at, I think, in the coming weeks. Like, if they're slightly still present, is the dig worth obviously flattening out everything else to get that last shred of glute, or is it worth, okay, the shredded glutes, but it's not it's not the most shredded part of me. Obviously, like we've said before, and I've talked to other people, yes, you're only as fat as as lean as your fattest body part, but if every other body part is like dick skin thin, and then you start digging in too hard to get those glutes, is it worth getting those
Well,
glutes?
yeah, the beauty of this isn't like for any first-time competitors in anything, um, it's a learning curve. So it's like,
Yes,
you're going to get up on stage, you're going to get feedback.
exactly.
So we're going to if the feedback is like you need to be leaner, it's like shit.
Yeah,
Okay, well then that next time that's where you go.
yeah,
Like at least you'll know. You know what I mean? It's not like we couldn't dig deeper if we get to that point. It's
yes,
just is the trade-off or the potential trade-off worth it?
yeah,
But then again, if you compete in 16 months time, 18 months time, it won't matter because you're going to be that big when you do
yeah,
potentially risk that amount of tissue degradation, which can happen. We're
yeah,
obviously trying to avoid it as much as possible.
yes, yes,
But if you get to that point, if you have another 10 kilos on you, losing half a kilo or a kilo of muscle potentially for the sacrifice of
yeah,
shredded as fuck glutes, yeah, it's still going to look pretty
yeah,
big.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
we'll weigh it up
That's
when you get there.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that's definitely what's exciting me is like we've said, last prep was a fuck, I wouldn't even call it a prep. It was just something that I pushed myself through. But this time it's like actually felt like I worked for the calories, I worked for the size, we put on mass, I capped out this weight class, borderline, like, there's give or take a kilo that I can probably put on to fill out this weight cap, but I'd rather push up to the next division anyway. And at 5'9", I have that capacity to handle an extra 10 kilos in my frame, and still be pretty healthy. So, it's a good indicator of, okay, like, if they come back and say, look, too small, could be leaner, could be whatever. We've now got the insights to what I need to do to go pro and start winning shows if I don't place or get anything from these shows. It's just all going to be good indicators of, okay, this is what happens when you dig deep for 2 years. Let's fucking do tenfold that. To even be, for me, to even be in this position, coming out of like 2 years of COVID and like considering how long they locked down gyms for up here and what we're able to do for a large chunk of it, most of the off season was spent training on a balcony. So to have that growth in that time with that limitation, the fuck I'm going to do in the next 2 years with absolute fixation is going to be exciting. Like I'm so motivated by that excitement that it's like at this point now, it's kind of like I want to get through this bit,
Yeah,
enjoy
so
it, obviously,
so you can get straight to the growing.
so I can get straight to the like, okay, no, life is in the best position possible. Like, let's fucking do this.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gonna be fun.
it's going to be, yeah, definitely a fun process. I'm really starting to get a team around me that I feel are going to push me in that direction,
Yeah.
and not so much limit my obsession, but more so just like direct it and make sure it's directed in the right way. And obviously that way the only limitations are, health and business and things like that. So I'll never put the business in a position that it compromises for my own personal goals, but at the same time, like the two can work hand in hand. Me obviously looking good and being bigger and progressing my own intensity, sharing that performance is all part of what matter is. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of a reflection there and an insight of where my head's at and that sort of stuff. But
All right,
it's just
and
kind of like
podcast
day
over.
by
Thanks, guys. See you later. Nah.
just basically day by day now and make it happen and see what we can put on stage, which I still think regardless is going to be the best I've ever looked ever. So, all that now is just stack up who's up there and what they look like and how I go against them. But overall, I am winning at this point. Anything beyond this is just like insanity for me.
Yeah, of course. It's gonna be good fun.
Mm-hmm.
But talking topic today, what has got you rolled up?
Well, we won't name names because at this point I feel like if I just get going, it'll just be too blunt because I'm too tired.
That's fair.
But the now I can see both sides because I know you're going to do it, Mr. Devil's Advocate over there. Obviously,
it's so fun when you preempt me.
Yes, the responsibility on the client to scout their coaches and understand their coaches and sort of know what's out there or do some research. However, the idea that this is nutritional coaching to me almost it fucking hurts my soul because it creates such a limitation or a boundary to entry, or if not a reluctancy to entry for people. I'll get into it in a second, but when this is the deemed idea of coaching, it creates a boundary that prevents people from either re-entering with better coaches or trusting coaches or trusting people or getting a result or being consistent. And that is that we're placing the expectation on a client that they are all relentless robotic bodybuilders. If you're willing to take on, if that's who you work with, fantastic. Like you can be that way. If you work with a type A client personality who just simply does exactly what they're told, no questions, will eat anything, it doesn't matter as long as it has protein, whatever, and they stick to the same meal plan every single day, and that's what you said, off you go, cool. But if a client doesn't know any better and they're coming to you because they've only known of you or they know you through someone, and we're governing this idea that a single parent or a parent or just a general population who wants recomp, health, improve endo, reduce any sort of like stomach issues, just get healthy, improve blood markers. And we're doing things like, you're a failing client if you aren't sticking to my chicken and broccoli at 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning. It's your first meal of the day. And you're not having your apple cider vinegars and stuff in the first thing in the morning on an empty stomach with your warm water and lemon juice. If that is what we're defining as coaching, the limitations that has on people actually getting results, changing behaviors, learning anything, improving their health, being consistent, long-term adherence, long-term progression, it all doesn't work. It doesn't happen. It's literally the antecedent of behavior change. We work with those people to actually change how they view food. And then there's people going around selling this as a service that's how you coach. Again, understandably, if that's how that person's always coached, cool. But if you don't know any better as a client and you don't know where to look, and that's what you're getting and being told like you're bad as a client for, you've got to cook for 3 kids in the morning to make breakfast and then also make chicken and broccoli frozen, pull that out of a microwave and trying to have that at 9 in the morning as you're driving the kids to school. Like, shut the fuck up. That is not coaching. That's not fucking anything.
It's an interesting one because I obviously do agree, where those type of clients obviously need to filter the coaches that they go to, because Gen Pop clients going to prep coaches is usually where that misalignment I think occurs, and you do get those prep coaches that work with lifestyle clients that like to help out and can educate on both. So it's like the coach being able to understand the client and saying, okay, like you're a type A client, cool, I'm going to put this approach in for you because I know that,
Yep.
you know, you're a robot. And
Yep.
then, you know, this other client, type B type client, is going to be like, okay, well, you're not going to be that robotic client. You have a lot more shit going on, or you have just a different take on how you need to do things and how things have to be done. So I'm going to modify my approach to you. Now, a few things to look at. As the coach, if you only wish to work with the robotic clients, usually me, I like that sort of stuff. It makes my life much easier. You can then simply say to the client after maybe a couple of weeks, like, hey, I feel like maybe that this isn't going to be the most beneficial thing for you, as my coaching style probably doesn't marry up to how you are as a client at this current point in time. So I know you wish to work with me, but I think in your best interest, it may be worth, you know, speaking to someone else and then referring them on to someone in your network that you trust that can help them achieve that result. Or on the other side, the client, if they're being told that they're a failure as a client, cancel your direct debit and leave. Like, it's pretty straightforward, right?
Yes,
because there's always, I guess, like a few different sides to that, because like I know from personal experience, like I love my robotic clients.
Yes, we all do. Yeah,
I love them. Like it's great because the beauty of it is it's like almost like simple math. It's kind of like, you know, when you watch Moneyball. It's like, or when you're watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Captain Holt's crying, and when he's watching Moneyball,
statistical analysis.
It's so beautiful. Like,
yeah,
when numbers just work and like the physiology of the client works with the numbers, it's beautiful. And then when there is a little, you know, hiccup, it's pretty easy to identify where that hiccup occurred, and then you can continue on. Now,
the lack of sleep matches up with increased
stress. Like, right, like it's like, oh, look,
weight.
You had a spike in blood pressure because you ate more sodium the night before. Okay, cool, shit happens, we move on. Like, however, we then do have those clients that are, well, human and, you know, aren't necessarily prep clients, more the lifestyle clients that, again, lifestyle have other things or other endeavors in their life that we as coaches then need to be able to help strategize for. And that's how I sort of come across with my lifestyle clients. Like, it is, we're trying to implement strategies.
Yeah.
We're trying to implement things where they're able to then take it away and apply it, not necessarily follow something to a T, because I'm not expecting them to, right? Like, that makes no sense.
Progression, not perfection.
Yeah, like I'm not expecting my client who has 2 kids to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning, go do fucking morning cardio or something, and come back, prep their own meals, prep their kids' meals, prep this, prep like, nah. You know what I'm going to say? I'm like, yeah, like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to change your targets a little bit. This is what I want you to get in by the end of the day. If you can do it, perfect. If you can't, let me know and we'll modify it again. It's pretty straightforward. But again, if a coach is telling a client that they're a failure, I'm pretty sure the client should have the self-respect to be like, bye.
Yeah. And I think too, the other thing to understand as coaches and clients as well is that when it comes to lifestyle, like, you need to set the expectation from the start. And I'll go through this with a lot of guys and girls. Like, if you come to me and let's say, like, you know, you can give me 80 or 75% consistency, or like, that's, you know, what you're willing to trade off in terms of to get your result. It may mean that it takes us longer to get there, but you're still going to have like fluctuating events, lifestyle situations. You're going to go on social events. You're going to have, you know, birthdays and parties and stuff where you're not taking your own food or simply fasting that day to get there. A lot of jazz. Like, there's little events that will just deter the result being faster. Fair enough. That's a lifestyle client. That's what they're doing. But we're teaching you tools to handle the situation. So I got a bunch of those where we work on mindsets, tools, exposures, and experiences around food and situations to control the response in the future, to better have tools to handle them down the track. So in 2 years' time, when you're not with me anymore, which I don't want you to be, you're able to look at that and go, oh, that's right, Ben told me this. You know, if I make sure that I'm eating out at a takeaway restaurant, I'm choosing the thing that's high in protein first, it's got vegetables on the plate, and the carbohydrates and sauce could be optional, or I could add the sauce on the side. I can then get a Pepsi Max, and I might have 2 beers tonight that'll allow myself that degree of flexibility. But I also had protein shakes and veg during the day to equate for having more food tonight. Sweet. Those simple tools, then you just go, sweet, you just completely changed like how you view food and a social situation. The thing that gets me is when coaches don't comprehend that when we look at psychosocial and economical environments, places like Australia, things like drinking and food are so prevalent in our culture and our circumstances and our everyday life that if you haven't got the repertoire to educate a client around that, and not as in like, oh, alcohol has 7 calories per milligram and it has this effects on your metabolic rates and it processes a toxin first, blah, blah, blah. That's great. We can teach that to anyone. That's cool. But if you're not able to articulate the fact that, we have social pressures, we have expectations of social groups, group think, these things will dictate how we feel in those scenarios and situations. Like one of the most commonly known concepts is that the desire for drinking is based around the fact that you want to hold something in your hand. Like the presence of being around others doing the same thing. It's more comfortable to have a gap between you and the person. That is, it's like a musician that learns to play guitar usually didn't like stage presence without something between them and the audience. So they learned to play the guitar and sing. Same thing with alcohol and drinking in like a social situation around sport, the bar, the pub, whatever. It's such a prevalent existence in our culture that if you're telling, and don't like, I had a consult and this person had told me that they were taking pre-made food on things like yacht clubs and boat parties and stuff. And I'm like, were you 2 weeks out? Like what was the go here? Because if you were 2 weeks out, I would have even said go. I would have just said fucking chill out. Put your feet up.
Exactly. Like you've done well to do that if you're 2 weeks out.
No, not even in a prep, just simply wanting to be healthier. I'm like, that's not healthy though.
Yeah, exactly. That's the opposite.
That's the opposite of what we want, because you're not even being encouraged or taught how to experience that situation with or without the presence of a diet. Understand that you could have made changes or sacrifices or fucking just simply had free meals or mindful exposures. Like, list of tools you could apply to that as a lifestyle client and just a Gen Pop person is endless. And to be told that that's how you have to approach nutrition to be a good client, or like that's how you have to approach coaching, it frustrates me, because maybe potentially that person thought that coach had a good name and like they've got results before. And it's like, they only market their shredded results of the type A's that can simply just suffer through it and do what they're told.
Which is like 3% of their clientele.
1% of like, let's be honest, we're all fighting over the same pie here as coaches.
There's
maybe 1% of that population that's
100%,
doing that.
100%, 100%.
And the ones who aren't doing it usually fall back into that behavior after the fact anyway. So like, you did avoid the boat parties and stuff as a client during a prep. Cool. Post show though, you're going straight back to them, but you didn't learn how to handle that situation.
Exactly.
You didn't learn how to enjoy that moment when you aren't a prep client. So to me, that expectation or idea that that's coaching almost offends and insults me, because of the fact that now I have to I have to explore with someone that isn't coaching and that we can do it a better way. And even in the presence of meal plans, I know you don't like meal plans per se, but I like to use them as a learning tool. Like when I show someone a meal plan layout, like, hey, look, you tell me what food you like, you tell me how often you can eat, yada, yada, we can make all this work. And I'll use that to show them, like, this is how fun nutrition can be. This is how, like, let's get your meal plan. This is how it can work. This is how it's like, you can learn from this to get almost like a jumping off point, like a starting point to then start learning to fluctuate things in, swap things in, know that you can try something different. I've got clients that have almost freedom anxiety. They get
it's almost like decision anxiety.
They get that
decision fatigue.
Yes, and that like some of them will then get almost overwhelmed by like, hey, I don't like not having a direction.
Like, of course. Right, cool. I can understand that. We've all been there. I understand that.
I use that to build off and say, right, sweet. Like if you feel more comfortable in this process, to stick to this while we learn new skills. And again, I had a client who literally messaged me and I had him walk through the situation, define to me how he was going to explore his free meal, the tactics we would use to make sure he was mindful about it, got to experience the situation, enjoy it, understand the antecedents, the behavior and the consequence, which is anxiety therapy. Look at how he's going to basically come out of that situation, what he felt like the next day. Was there any variations in scales or fluctuations? No. Great. Was he able to enjoy the social situation with friends and family? Yes. Did he enjoy the food? Yes. Did he make the best choices of the situations in? Yes. Okay, cool. That's a win. That's everything there. Perfect. You tick that off. That is the perfect free meal, whilst also sticking to adherence that you've defined to me, that you've created as like your intensity metric and what we're counting as adherence. If I were to say to that person, hey, you can't do any of that. You have to take fucking chicken and broccoli with you to this dinner and you have to ask the restaurant to heat up for you and that's all you get to do. All that's going to do is emphasize that anxiety and emphasize that problem further of his understanding of nutrition and how to get past those anxieties and those phobias and those hangups. That to me is borderline negligent. It's frustrating. It's insulting. And to hear that there's mothers and fathers or single parents, double parents doing night shift, and that's what they've been told before, I despise it And like, I never like to attack the person, I attack the idea. So most like a lot like most of my content is so much free information of basic shit because people get it so wrong or borderline and negligent about it and start creating this idea that that's coaching. And I just,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
almost like on the flip side. You remember how that whole was it 18, 19-year-old fresh out of the PT course telling a mother of three that you just need to make it a
yeah,
priority or whatever. It's an
yeah,
interesting one because like there's always two sides. Because even to that one, that actually bothered me a little bit, and I was trying to work out why it bothered me, that meme. And it's kind of like, well, that doesn't necessarily mean the PT is wrong either.
no,
It's like
no,
it could be that you do need to make your health more of a priority than it currently
yes,
is, and I guess that's
yeah,
potentially why you're seeing a PT. But it's like
yeah,
for those that I guess that listen, I'm sure that you've seen the meme where it's like a lady. I think it's a cartoon of like a lady sitting on a leg extension or something, and the PT's like, oh, you just need to make your health or your fitness priority or some shit. And it's kind of like,
yeah,
well, I mean, there's always truth to it. Don't get me
yeah.
wrong. It's just obviously the way it's put across is usually the
Here's a
issue.
really, really simple tool. And we learn this in anxiety and exposure therapy and ACT and stuff like that, is understanding that you're allowed to have, so we have like what we call domains or life domains, and what we call a target board. Now you might break up that target board into quadrants. I don't even care giving this away for free. It's just a simple tool. Each one of those quadrants is a different aspect of your life. Now that might be Ben as a bodybuilder, Ben as a student, Ben as a business owner, Ben as a friend or a family member, a relationship, husband, partner, whatever. For certain degrees of life, certain periods of time, the priority
Yeah.
domain and the intensity of the goal will fluctuate and
Hmm.
change the amount of intensity you can give. So let's say that for me, like bodybuilding right now and business, they're my two.
Yeah.
Everything else couldn't care.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to give 100% to those two because they kind of coexist for me, like business and bodybuilding, like
Yeah.
it's intertwined. Now, there may be times in my future life where, marriage or something like that, and me as a hypothetical, then there's going to be a degree of time where, let's say, business takes a bit of a back burner, or it's like, okay, another less focus period.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to not have 100% intensity to give to that business. But what I can do is identify that, okay, so let's say of my day, I total have 100% intensity or 100% effort I give. Can I give 50% to this domain? Yes. Okay, then all I ask of you is that you give 100% of that 50% you can give,
Hmm.
and know that you gave the max you could to that domain. The
Exactly
other
right.
domains, if they're the priority, fantastic.
Yeah.
So, being a mother is obviously going to be priority one for any mum.
Mm.
I've worked with several mums now and couples
Yeah.
where that's obviously like, I can't say, you know what, kids, you're going
Yeah.
to the gym. Like,
Fucking ditch
just pop
them.
them in the crèche. Like, is the crèche full? Is the crèche open? Are they
Yeah,
sick?
like
Are
yeah, yeah,
you
of
sick?
course.
Like, all those things. So,
Yeah.
if you're able to go, you know what, for today, instead of attacking yourself and being a failed client or a failure as a client, unfortunately, being a mother took priority over fitness.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we know that, there's no point in me giving you a 6-day program when you can get to the gym
Exactly.
3 days.
Exactly.
How about we break your volume up to full day, a full body 3-day program with mad intensity? You get
Hmm.
in, get out, fuck shit up, go home, get to cooking your
Exactly.
food.
Exactly.
Worrying about whether you're doing 45 cardio fasted in the morning and then half hour at night and then a training session and cooking all your food is setting you up to feel failure and losing, which is then going to deflate motivation, land in what's called as unintentional failure syndrome, which is then going to spiral depression like states,
Yeah, of
chronic
course. Yeah,
hopelessness,
negative mindsets and
setbacks,
that sort of stuff. Yeah.
and then you start becoming fixated on the fact you
Yeah,
lost.
exactly. And that's where I say that the delivery of that, I think, from a young, inexperienced PT is
Yeah.
where it lacks because, like you just said, you're not trying to set up the client to fail. We're just trying to
No.
obviously educate that client on where to potentially maximize the times that they do have, all those energies and efforts that they do have.
Yep.
Um, in their health, because obviously their health isn't their number one priority, and rightfully so if you have children and all that sort of stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
And that's kind of where for me it's always like, and I say this to a lot of clients, is I base a lot of my coaching and my systems on optimal 100%, what I know is optimal, what I know where the research is, and then we work back from there ladder by ladder as to what you can actually do. Because obviously, like, like I said, every client isn't going to be optimal because they have life and they have other things. Even if a mother did want to get on stage, the likelihood that you're going to have a perfect prep or a perfect off season or a perfect phase is
yeah,
illogical to think.
of
So
course.
you find out what is optimal, or what is the optimal outcome or the optimal process, and how do I work back from that to meet the client? Where can I meet them where
Yeah,
they are and build up?
yeah, 100%. And I think to this sort of point is that if the coach is trying to apply one method that they only have
Mm-hmm.
to every client, and obviously every client or most clients are different, do we how much do we blame the coach and how much do we blame the client after
Yeah,
a period of
that's
time, right?
that's what I was
It's
saying
like,
at the start there, where I can
yeah, like,
understand devil's advocacy and
yeah,
just be
like,
like,
don't get me wrong, like, if it's a kid, for example, someone young, someone inexperienced,
mm-hmm,
um, you're going to blame the adult or the more experienced
mm-hmm,
one every single time, right?
yeah,
Of course. However, we're adults, and depending on, it's like if you're paying for a service, it's like you're a customer, you're always a customer. As a client, you're always a customer.
yeah,
Please realize
100%.
that we are in a service delivery
Mm-hmm,
business, like industry, like us
mm-hmm,
as coaches, we deliver a service, you pay us.
yeah,
If you're not happy, then you
yeah.
can literally just
We're
stop
on
paying.
show every week. You pay us
Yeah,
money.
like you can stop paying.
Yeah,
So I feel like if someone's giving you negative feedback, creating negative like mind or like negative mindsets for you, negative
yeah,
like mental health space, like
yeah.
I guess why, my question would be, why wouldn't you just simply say, okay, I'm just going to find another coach, because we
I
know that
think
there are heaps of coaches.
I think, and I can sort of play the other side here for
Yeah,
once, is the whole you don't know what you don't know detail. And I think we've talked about that before in not
yeah,
in searching for coaches. If you don't know that there is other ways out there and all you've been exposed to is say this person, and
mhm.
again I had a consult where this person had said I only went back to this person because it's who I worked with in the past when I had life more of a free flexible
Yeah, of
time.
course, yeah, yeah,
And so it was like, okay, so you went back to what you knew because that
yeah,
was all you knew. You
yeah.
weren't in the fitness industry, you weren't around coaches, weren't in the game per se. You were just simply around and knew of that one person. And obviously, if that person's trying to make business, they're not going to be like, well,
No, no, of
yeah,
course.
that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's stupid for the coach to take on any client if they only have a one approach type
Yeah,
scenario. That's stupid. That's like
yeah,
Patrick Tour, for example, trying to take on all these different clients when he has literally one approach. It works
yes,
phenomenally for his clientele. That's why they all look
yeah,
fucking amazing. But if you look at all the clients, they're all pretty much the same.
yes,
But also in this day and age, it's not hard to get on Instagram and type in nutrition coach, strength
yes,
coach,
correct.
coach. You're going to get a ton of people. So it's kind of like, if this was 15 years ago or 10 years ago, even, I'd probably be like, yeah, okay, maybe more on the side of the client. I feel
Mhm.
like this time it's kind of like a 50-50 where,
Yeah.
yeah, you may not know anyone or you may not know anything different, but you know how to use Google and you know how to use the search functions on a lot of
And I
things.
think
So,
that's what led to said consult.
yeah, which makes complete and utter
Yeah.
sense, right?
Because
So,
realizing now, like for said person, I'm like, you're part of a relationship where there's kids involved and time differences and availability of like
yeah, of
working and all
course.
sort of jazz is like having that old approach that you were given last time and being told that was the expectation. And now you
Yeah.
have to adhere it. Like
Well,
the amount of mums that I have that have simply been like, I'm not cooking a meal and making kids like cereal breakfast or like toast
yeah,
and like that sort of jazz. I'm like, completely understandable, completely fair.
yeah.
Like you have 20 minutes on the go in the car, but do a protein shake and some vegetables or some fruit.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, and I'm sure, said coach in question probably has female clients that are mothers that actually do what he wants and
Yeah,
asks. And I'm sure
yeah,
they are, because I mean, we know that people like that do exist, both mothers and fathers that have
yes.
kids, but
And
you know,
compete.
yeah, they do what they need to do, basically, what they
Yeah,
deem that they need to do to get where they got to be. Like I can understand that, but again, it's not for everyone, and it's not
exactly.
realistic, and it's just not to everyone's personality. So it's like, well,
Yeah,
our job as coaches is to facilitate the best strategy
yeah.
possible, and that's where that you know customer like that's where that custom built service is for
Hmm.
our clients, because not any one client's approach is really the same. Like,
It can't be.
nah, like every client's kind of different. Like, I've got clients that are very similar, for example, but usually like the programming might be pretty similar because there's only so many exercises you can really execute in a
Yeah,
gym. Let's be real, for
yeah.
sets and reps and tempo and blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
However, the approach to their nutrition or their approach
Yeah.
to their training, their
Well, to
approach
like
to everything is
to
much
life, to
different.
stress management, to systems obligations, to
And
like
that's where the
work.
customization from me as a
Yeah,
coach really comes into play, not necessarily the customization of a program, but more so the
yeah,
customization of how they like utilize the program
yeah.
and utilize their time
Hmm.
to effectively hit
a
their goal.
really a really easy one there for me was a client who we started out the desired outcome at the start was like I want to get back to training 5 days a week, having fun, loving training, learn to be better with my nutrition and my macros. That's what I'm like, fantastic, that's a great starting point. Dove into it, got really deep on the goals, how good that would feel to him, cool. But then when we started looking at things like his ADHD and like his ability to focus and his time management and the way that he could handle fixated tasks and stuff like that, tracking became a loose metric of accuracy, and it was just simply causing more anxiety and stress than it was worth. His training ability didn't match the available time that he had. So setting up 5-day programs meant that he wasn't getting adequate training stimulus that I wanted, because it was like he could do 2 or 3 days. I'm like, okay, cool. So instead of allowing you to sit there as a feeling like a failed client, or feeling like you're letting me down, because there's nothing worse I hate than
Yeah,
hearing a
then
client say,
client feel
I
like they
feel
let
like I've
you
let you
down.
down. I'm like,
It's like,
no,
fuck
we're
off,
looking at
bro.
this the wrong way
Yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah,
This
100%.
is not about, you'll never let me down. As long as you're making an intent to be better, I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
It's more so the intensity of that effort and what I can do to help that. And
You're
for
such a
him,
nice coach. I'm an asshole. I say you let yourself down. No, I'm joking.
well, I just say stop being a bitch.
Yeah,
Firstly,
I don't say that much. No.
much. Depends who it is.
That's what it is.
But in saying that, like, we then reassess. I'm like, okay, so knowing where you are, is it logical to keep pushing you for 5 days a week? And he's like, I'm like, what's the bare minimum that you can get adequate training from? And he's like, I could do probably 3 days, and that gives me time to get meal prep done, some cooking done, some other lifestyle stuff, work. And I'm like, cool. His goal when he started was he wanted to do a set of 10 at 100 on bench, because he's done that before he went through mental health stuff, body injuries and things like that. I'm like, sweet, piece of piss. He did everything else, recomposition his body as well and stuff like that. Then we achieved 3 sets of 10 at 100, plus the rest of his program where he had other along the way. He's like, I'd like this to get stronger. I'd like this to be stronger. I'm like, I'd like your posterior chain to be stronger too. 140 kilo RDLs, like all this sort of stuff where he was feeling like a loser almost on the 5-day program, cut him back to 3. And he's like, holy shit, this is awesome. I'm in and out. I feel great. I do what I need to do when I go home. I have time to do other stuff. Bang on. And then like recognizing that his like being fixated on like, okay, you got to be in MyFitnessPal, give me your exact macros. That wasn't working for him. So instead, what we did was, between him and a new relationship and stuff that had started, they were enjoying that process, or that phase of like being fun together and doing things like
Honeymoon phase. We know what
honeymoon phase. I was like, what if we create a templated structure that we give you this idea, because he wanted to sort of just give me the exacts that I should eat, and I can track that and learn to track it that way. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Didn't work out that way. I was like, great. Gave him more of a templated system to look at and go, okay, so in each meal, don't worry about tracking it. Don't worry about doing anything else. You just make sure the plate has like a third of a protein source. Half the plate is a veg or a fruit or a salad per se, depending on what it is. And the remainder of the plate is your carbohydrates and fats. Now, that I said the only reason we change that is depending on the goal you have. So if you want to cut down, we can just modify the size of the portions of the plate. If it's a wrap or it's a bowl, something like that, we just simply make a few changes there as well. Fucking love that idea. He absolutely he's like sensational by that idea. Nailed it. Loves it every single day, because he's like, I know when I pick up a plate or I pre-cook some meals to take to work, I can do 2 or 3 days. I get bored of that, move on to the next one, because of his ADHD and stuff. Like, he just loses interest in the same thing every single day. And then we'll just like, okay, it's dinner time with the new partner. We want to do something different every other night. He's going on picnics, making wraps, making homemade pizzas. And I'm like, bang on. This is exactly what you want for a personal decision. For a personal approach system.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, you're just customizing the approach to the client.
Exactly. It removes the idea that you let me down or that you're failing.
Yeah.
Because if I had have left him at, well, where's your macros and where's your 5-day week program? Sweet. Like the scary part is also, this is another client. He had been told by a previous coach that he was shit and was never going to get a result because he can't stick to anything. I was like, holy fuck. Don't tell me that coach is role abusing right now. But to be told that by someone that you were paying money to, you haven't made any progress or changes because of X, Y, Z. And I was like, sounds like you haven't made any changes because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. And it's, again, that same old argument. It's like coaching trying to apply a one size fits all approach, and it's kind of like, well, it's not how this industry works anymore.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's interesting. Like, I was just reflecting. I'm thinking, like, man, I got a couple of funny I've got mostly coaches as clients, which is pretty cool. So it's like, it's funny how I try to educate them. And it's like, I had one of my clients. She was having a bit of a fit because she couldn't train on 1 or 2 of their. So I've got her on a 5-day program, and she couldn't train on one of the days. It was going to be like back-to-back leg days or something like that. And I'm like, okay, so if a client came to you with the same issues, what would you tell them? She's like, I'd probably just tell them to skip a day. I'm like, so what do you think I'm going to tell you? But I can't do that. But why? If you got to remember, you're also a client. You're not just a coach. I'm going to give you the exact same advice that you would give your client. Pick your favorite day, mix 2 of them, whichever one, whichever, pick your favorite exercises out of the two.
Yep.
Do one day, skip it. We're going to deload next week anyway. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's just really, really funny how it's like reflecting on how to educate, like how to have that custom approach to a client, and then it's like educate them at the same time. It's like one of my guys is an exercise science student. He's doing a hack squat. He's going through some knee recovery stuff. He's got his feet much higher, so we're getting a lot more hip flexion, hip extension. So glute bias hack squat versus a knee or a knee flexion dominant hack squat where we're going to, bias the quads more because he can't just because of the knee. I'm like trying to sort of tell him, he's like sending me videos like, how's it feel and stuff, how's it look and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, good. How's the knees? Like, good. I'm like, so if we want to, bias the quads a little bit more because we're currently biasing the glutes more, what do you think we'd do? And he's sort of like umming and ahhing, second questioning himself. I'm like, mate, it's a general question. I know you know the answer because you've said it before. Like, this is me customizing my approach and teaching you, while we get you results. And he sort of got the answer. It was just really, really funny. Just a funny reflection, actually.
It's just something that it is understandable that a coach has their ways and whatever, and if they're known for that, cool. Like I've said it before, like you can't be. I see all these like Instagram accounts that attack a coach for having a method or like a way they do things, like fucking bodybuilder Greg who just does macros and like, yeah, cool, but that works. Like that method is for that type of clientele. You can't expect that a coach has every type of client under their belt and their avatar is every single, or the target market is every single client. They're very specific clients they work with. That's understandable. You can't rip on them for that. However, if you're still taking on those clients that aren't inside that target market or that avatar for yourself, and you've identified that, and then you're trying to apply those metrics to those general populist clients, and then telling them that they're not so much telling them, but even implying that they're failing or shortcoming as a client for not being 100% adherent, when you're probably expecting a mother of two, a father of two, a business owner and parent, you might be getting 80% adherence. And that's completely okay because you've defined that criteria as like, look, here's a perfect scenario week. We lay this out. Likelihood of you getting that's pretty low, but we work with what we've got and we aim for 80% or we aim for this.
Yeah, and
the beauty try and get that better.
The beauty as a coach as well, when you're doing that, it's like I know my clients, like I know them very, very well. It doesn't take me long to pick out a lot of their habits, especially when it comes to tracking their data. And it's kind of like, if I need them to hit a certain target, I don't always put the target in. Like if I'm like, yeah, I just need you to hit 80% of 500 grams of carbs, it's only because, well, I only ever wanted you to hit like, what is it, 450 grams of carbs. So it's like, yeah, I know your average is 450, but that's exactly what I wanted you to hit. But I know if I wrote 450, you might hit 400. But if I write 500, you're going to hit 450. It's like, that's just being a coach. Like, that's just using your brain. Like, know your client. Like, I know a lot of my clients. I know that if I give them certain reps and sets, like, they're not going to hit it. So I'm going to have to change it so I know that they hit the bare minimum that I want them to hit. And if they hit the target, they hit the target, even better. I'd be like, I'm like, oh, shit, like, it's a good job. So it's a win-win either way. Like, if I give a client, like, I've got one of my clients, 50-year-old, 50? 51? I don't know, 50 something, early 50s, TRT, HRT client, trains like a demon, wants to build his legs, give him 5-day split, 3-day legs, three lower, 2 upper.
Nice.
And I'm like to him, dude, I need you to eat more food. And he's like, oh, I'm just struggling to eat more food. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I mean, I just need you to eat more. He's like, how much do you want me to eat? I'm like, I want you to eat 550 grams of carbs. He's like, cool. He's like, I can't get past 500. But for 6 weeks, I had him at 500. Oh, I had him at 550 on the target sheet, but he'd only eat 500.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I only wanted you to hit 500 because your weight's been climbing. You're still getting jacked. Like, he's like, oh, but you wrote 550. But you wrote 550. I'm like, yeah, because if I wrote 500, you'd be saying I can only hit 450. Yeah. Like, I know you. He's like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, I know I'm right. Yeah. I've had you for a year. I know you. I know you very well. So it's just like, these are where the customized approaches come to clients. It's being able to read your client and understand that not any one client is the same. Or any two clients are the same. So you need to create a system.
Some of my clients literally give me almost zero data, but we catch up in person, and it's like most of the chat ends up being and don't get me wrong, I push for the data because the more obviously we have, but I know that the data for them, like, they just like to have the plan, they nail it, they execute it, they send me photos, all sort of stuff, but the data leads to anxieties and things that I know trigger them. So I'm like, okay, cool, there's no point pushing that until we explore this and get more consistency elsewhere. And like, life was just too short in time to be able to like fill out full spreadsheets, whatever. But most of the chats became more about tools we can use to optimize life, their mental health, their stress, all that sort of stuff. So being fixated on like, hey, you didn't get your data in, or you didn't give me a data sheet. But also we've improved your life. You've got a career promotion. You've got a family management. You have stress management under wraps. Family's in a better place. Your health is in a better place. Your blood pressure's down. Your physique's improving. You're getting stronger.
That's it.
Am I
Basics.
really, am I really mad that you didn't tell me, that you got 7 hours sleep? Because you can come here and tell me when we're chatting, oh yeah, I've been averaging 7 hours sleep. It was a little bit less quality than I'd like. This happened, or I've been sticking to the macros pretty well. I just haven't put it in. Sweet. I can see my fitness pal. I know that you actually track them. Sweet. There. Not the end of the world. Yeah. Ideal client, perfectly, fills out a sheet.
Yeah,
Does it make him a bad person when he's got other things going on? We've nailed that stuff? Not at all.
exactly.
But hey,
They're humans. Treat them as
exactly right.
humans.
They're exactly right.
Should we move to
Can do.
questions?
Yeah, let's rip some questions whilst I have some energy left.
Let's see what we got. How important is it to keep your heels on the leg press?
How important is it to keep your heels on leg press?
To keep your heels down, I'm assuming they mean on the leg press.
I'm assuming you have some poor ankle flexibility then. If you're like, well, I guess where your legs, where your feet set up, where are you putting them? Like, if you put them too low that they're that low that they're coming off when you're going down,
Well,
it's going to put a lot of pressure on your knee.
yeah, I mean, it's not an overly complex one when it comes to technique, especially when it comes to this whole heel debate. So we know that usually heels up would mean that you have more knee flexion. More knee flexion is much more quad biased. Now, what really comes into play with something like a leg press is the load that you have and how much load you're able to handle through the balls of your feet versus a whole foot on the plate. If you find that your heels are coming off, but that's the sort of position you need to be in to really achieve that knee flexion that you want, you'd have to then probably adjust the seat or the bench or like the backrest of the leg press. The other thing is you can just get some wedges or some heels, squat heels. They tend to usually help. The other option is really just change the exercise. So we got to look at the safety profile, and usually a leg press is going to require a decent amount of load to really achieve a stimulus, especially if you've been training for a while and all that sort of stuff. So if you're on a leg press and you're unable to sort of change or maneuver the machine around to suit your mechanics, and you're unable to then, alter, I guess, your mechanics by using heels and that sort of stuff, or changing your position a little bit, it may be worth just, biting the bullet, getting rid of the leg press, changing the exercise to better utilize, I guess, knee flexion. And, you can still have a heel elevated. So you can still use squat shoes, for example, or use a wedge, whatever it is that you want to achieve a better knee flexion. But like, how important is it to have the heels on the plate? I mean, only as important as you deem your safety. So if you want to risk it to get the biscuit, go for it. If you much prefer not to risk it and, stay alive, then probably change the exercise if you can't change the machine or the setup of the machine. What to expect as a client going from a growth phase to a specificity block?
Growth phase or specificity block. What to expect from a client? Well, generally, if there's a growth phase, unless it's a full body growth and you're simply trying to increase mass, you're probably going to be in a specificity block, putting growth somewhere specific.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a few ways to look at it. So if the client is going through a growth phase and it's just a general program where it's, overall volumes equated for, and it's spread pretty evenly, and you're just in like a nutritional surplus and that sort of stuff. And then moving to a specificity block. So
that's
particularly
fair,
moving, picking a body part to grow, which usually is what most people will do first. So I know that's my more favorite approach. It's like, let's just go through a general growth phase, see what grows. Let's see what picks up, what doesn't, at what rates, and then be like, okay, let's grow certain body parts now that we know where we're at. What to expect? I mean, usually you'd expect body parts on maintenance, and then one or two body parts picked to increase either volume or effort levels or whatever it is, or even exercises. So you actually requiring more sets or more exercise variety for that particular body part to grow.
Also, frequency as well probably go up.
Yeah, so a lot of factors there to potentially include when growing a body part or moving to a specificity block. So,
it also means you'll probably have less. As I don't know, soreness is not always an indicator of growth, but you'll probably have less soreness in the areas that aren't being trained. Like, I still encourage in a specificity block, obviously, that the numbers you have on those other areas are being trained hard. So you make, if it's 10 to 12 sets as a maintenance for you, and that's all you need. you still train those 10 sets fucking hard. It's not a pussy set, but you're going to probably be less stimulated and less sore in that area.
Well, yeah, it's literally on maintenance. That's all it
Yeah,
needs to be. And
exactly.
sometimes you actually still, because you're in an overall systemic growth block, you're still probably going to grow certain body parts anyway that you didn't intend to grow. It's just how
Anabolic
protein
environments
accretion
work.
works. You can't really sort of stop that, especially if you're pushing weight and that sort of stuff. Would either of you be interested in joining my MLM scheme? 3.5K for 6 calls, no call provided. No.
Yes.
In a COD zombie style survival mode, how many waves of 6-year-olds do you think you would kill? All of them.
All of them. Absolutely punting a 6-year-old.
100%. I will take a baseball bat with barbed wire around it and whack a kid, no stress. Even if it's not a zombie, what?
Have you seen the South Park movie years ago? Kick the baby, don't kick the baby. Me kicking Isaac.
Yeah, 100%. This week, I've seen protein toothpaste. What's a ridiculous thing I would add protein to? Where the fuck is protein toothpaste?
Fuck you getting protein? What? You're not even eating this. So what did you do? What?
I need to Google this. Hold on.
How does that even work? I want to even know what the mechanism of that absorption is supposed to be.
I don't
Like
know if
you're
it's genuinely
adding
a thing.
protein to your teeth.
Protein toothpaste comes up. Cure Prox. And what's good for your oral health? Sure.
I am so intrigued and confused by that.
Does toothpaste contain protein? To boost role of natural salivary defenses in controlling the oral microbial community, oral hygiene products, including toothpaste, have been developed that contain enzymes and proteins. So maybe it's not the protein we're thinking of, which makes complete sense if that's the case. But I feel like that question makes it sound like it's protein.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounded like it was like muscle building.
Yeah,
protein.
that's weird. But I mean, I haven't seen protein in really like weird things. The funny thing for me was way back when they did the caffeine tights, caffeine skins. Remember that?
No.
I think 2XU may have done them, and I think another brand did them. I want to say it's Lorna Jane, but I could be completely wrong. Did tights infused with caffeine because it was supposed to help fat mobilization, and then they realized they were blocking pores for sweat, and it was causing more issues.
Oh.
I remember the brands. Oh, I thought it was 2XU and Lorna Jane, but it was someone that did tights. But anyway, that was funny. Swans or cats in the granny? Who are we backing? Look, I'm probably gonna have to go with the cats. Yeah, I know you don't follow AFL. Probably the cats. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Wait, who do you go for again in NRL?
Newcastle.
Yeah. Where are they again? Oh, that's right. They didn't make it. Shut the fuck up.
We're having our own controversies as it is.
Yeah, 100%. You guys are fucked.
Yep.
If people use leg extension for hip thrust, can I use the hip thrust machine for bicep curls?
Yes.
Do it. Get a photo. Get a video.
Show us how.
Tag us.
Yeah.
Please.
It'd be one of those ones like you crouch down on your knees and kind of use it as leverage and just do it that way.
100%. Just do it. I want to see it.
Yeah.
That'd be
Send
great.
Don't be a bitch.
Please.
Assert dominance in your gym by doing the machine wrong.
Yeah, I'm keen. I want to see that. Fuck, marry, kill. Ex Queen Lizzie, Ellen, or Tracy Grimshaw.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, it's like, can I marry a dead person?
If I inherit her wealth, absolutely.
That's what I was going with.
Yeah. 100%.
Can I marry her the day before she dies?
I'm getting that diamond on the top of her tiara.
No, isn't that the one that's supposed to belong to like somewhere in Asia?
There's a whole lot of shit about that.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Isn't that the one that goes to? Where is it? Like Hong Kong or something? No.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Somewhere in Asia.
Apparently, they back in like the 1870s tricked the prince or the king of India of the main Indian tribes to trade it. And then obviously when they had like the British East India Company and they obviously exploited it and now it's on top of the tiara and they're like, we deserve it back. And it's like the world's largest diamond. And this little 12-year-old king was like, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Let's see if they give it back.
$800 million diamond. Sure.
Yeah. So much money in this world.
Just carbon and dirt compressed under pressure.
Aaron, would you rather clean shave or attend a clean health seminar?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I don't know. It's a big one.
I think I'd attend a clean health seminar just to spite certain people who don't like clean health.
Depends on which seminar.
Yeah, I mean, if Norton's there running, I could probably tend. I'd probably turn up.
Yeah, like I don't know. That's hard because I don't really want a clean shave, like at all. I mean, I need a beard trim, but fucking yeah, I don't know. Can't answer that one.
That's fair.
That's all I got on mine.
Cool. I got some.
Did you? Look at you go.
See, puppy. This is a good one. You and Scaff versus any two health and fitness flogs in a steel cage match. Who's it against, and do you win?
Oh, definitely win. Doesn't matter who it's against.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. Just give me a cycle and like 2 weeks post show, and we'll win.
Fitness flog. That's a big one.
Well, we all know who my first pick's going to
Who?
be. Old British swear words, man.
Oh yeah, James Smith, or whatever his name is. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine. That's easy.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to work out like fitness vlogs. Like there's a lot. It's
yeah.
kind of like do we go with famous people? Do we go with like
I'm
you
just
know?
thinking like most of the Psalm goblins that are on like TikTok that.
Yeah, but
Oh,
even I'm thinking more along the lines of the guys that actually think that they contribute.
oh
It's
yeah.
kind of like a Brad Schoenfeld. Like fuck. Oh man, I'd love to like. Oh, it'd be fun. Like he did some good, but I feel like he's doing more bad than good these days. Like who else is there? Brett Contreras. Like fuck. Whoa. Like come on, bro. Like come on. Stop with the frog pumps, bro. Like come on. Like, dude, we anyone with half a fucking brain in biomechanics, which he claims to have, like, would know how bad they are for your hips. But anyway, we won't get into that. And you didn't invent the glute bridge. Let's be real. Like, stop claiming that shit, please, for the life of us.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like, there'd be a lot.
Yeah.
You'd have to line them up.
Yeah.
Just go like
It'd just
just
be one of
fucking.
those like more of like an endurance round. How
It'd be
many can you
Royal.
do?
It'd be Royal Rumble. Just
Yeah.
fucking over the
Tag team
top
Royal
rope.
Rumble, just send them in.
Over the top
It's
rope.
like that
Just
episode of
fucking.
Simpsons when Homer just gets the donuts and he's in hell and he's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
he's excited about it
Yeah,
and he just keeps
literally.
sending the donuts.
Yeah,
That'd be us.
yeah, 100%. There's a lot of fuck people. Anyway,
Is an ego important to or detrimental to a bodybuilder, and how can you utilize it? I think an ego in the way that people conceptualize the term ego, or like a very mainstream understanding of it. There's different ways that philosophy looks at ego, but as a general understanding in mainstream, ego can definitely be detrimental, but it can also be a positive thing, especially if your confidence and your like. Well, ego is often used by people who are lesser than the person to mock them or pretend that they are arrogant because they're so confident in what they do. It depends how heavy the ego is and how intense it is. If someone's just simply their ego is in place because they are so good at what they do and they work fucking hard and they go into a show no doubt they're going to win, or like their confidence just oozes out of them. I think it actually it can lead to a better bodybuilder because they're going to go in less stressed. They're more focused on themselves. They're more focused on the prize. They're more focused on the being the best or being better. Ego orientated goals are not necessarily bad. It's just that they can be better in conjunction with mastery and process goals as well. Like I actually find that a lot of the people we most think have the highest egos generally have the most insecurities. I will probably sit here with you and go through 1,000 different things about myself that I assess constantly, review, reflect on, don't like. I had someone asked me the other day, like, well, how are you feeling? And I was like, oh yeah, I feel pretty good. Like, oh, but how you feeling? And I was like, well, this is still fat. This isn't happening. I'm holding here. I'm looking like this. I'm doing that. This isn't happening. I'm feeling this. Oh, but you look good. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. Like, I may convey that I look good because I do, but also my humility is good enough that I can assess where I'm at. Doesn't make me egotistical for sharing photos, but some people may look at that and go, oh, he's egotistical, full of himself. So it's all obviously not retrospective, arbitrary to the person. But I can definitely see ego definitely can be detrimental when someone goes in thinking they are the top shit and they're just simply a dick. Treating people like absolute crap just because you think you're going to win or like you're a top tier competitor or whatever. At the end of the day, everyone starts at some degree in the competitive world, or any sport or any field. You start at the bottom and have to earn your mastery. So to have an ego in the regards that you're a dick is arrogance. To have ego in regards to like your ego is in check and you're dominating your arena and you're confident in yourself and what you do, I think it's fine. It's actually probably a good thing.
Yeah,
Healthy
fair.
ego.
Yeah, I mean, I think ego and I think of Marvel, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, ego is never. I think most things are usually not inherently good or bad. It's your perception
Mhm.
of them, and I guess if they're
Yeah.
abused and whatnot, right? But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, ego is one aspect of personality, I think. So it's
Yeah.
like you can't really get rid of it. You can't really not have an ego. It's kind of like you will be egotistical about certain things at certain
Yeah.
times, and I think,
And it will get checked many times too along the way.
yeah, I feel like the more you specialize or you feel you specialize in something, the more of an ego you'll develop because you're so confident in your ability
Hmm.
to be able to relay and understand the information in that particular field. That
Hmm.
it's like you're classifying yourself as nearly an expert, or thereabouts of an expert. So yeah, like you can be, I guess, a little bit egotistical, provided you're right. That's probably the caveat to
Yes.
that. And it's always kind of like watching like a Conor McGregor for when he was so arrogant, confident.
Hmm.
People would say egotistical, but he'd back it up and
Yeah.
belt
Backed
the shit
up.
out of anyone. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah. Anyway,
Fuck, marry, kill Toby, Andrew, and Tom as Spider-Man.
it's tough.
Mm.
I'd probably have to kill Toby just
Gotta kill
because
Toby for that dance.
the
Sorry, Chris.
dance, the way that they did the Spider-Man,
Oh,
like,
the way they did Spider-Man 3 with
yeah, like,
like
and
the
it's
black
not, look, it's
suit.
not his fault.
No,
You know what I mean? It's not
it's
his
bad.
fault. Like, it's not his fault.
No.
But yeah, I'm probably gonna
Sorry,
have to.
Rami.
I'm gonna
Rami
probably
sucks.
gonna have to marry Tom because he just,
It's a sweetheart.
yeah, he just, I don't know, he's just fun. He plays golf, apparently pretty good, so that'd work nicely.
And he can do like mad backflips and shit. Like the dude's a
Yeah,
proper gymnast.
yeah, like he's awesome.
It'd be
And
fun.
if you bang, then if you marry Tom, you might get Zendaya in it. So it's like it's not the worst thing in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So then I guess I'm banging Andrew.
Banging Andrew. Yeah. Yeah, I can
I
go
can
that.
live with that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, there's a few here. Should you take imitation as a compliment? I do think so.
Yeah, I never
Imitation
get.
is flattery.
Yeah, I never get angry about people copying my
No.
shit. It happens all the
It's
time.
like, yeah, like
I'm just like,
they
cool.
have. I know the reason behind the question, but if imitation, if commentary or mockery or anything like that is first presented and then imitation is followed, then obviously there's a degree of insecurity or ego that that person is using, and then justifying trying to brush off the imitation. But always imitation is flattery. Like, so you found something that works and someone else is trying to replicate or do it, or even if the point that they're not doing it better, they're just simply trying to do it. This is why people that focus on their own brand, their own business, their own job get so much more ahead, because when someone else or another business is playing catch up or playing mockery or playing imitation, you're on to the next thing and getting past it. So
Well, yeah, usually it shows that they're a step behind, but that's fine.
yeah. Okay. Irony of people ripping on sups and then using them in future. Yes. It depends on the stance on the supplements. I find, like, don't get me wrong, I have a very particular stance on supplements. I sold them for like 5 years, but I have a stance on them that they have their time and place, and I also believe, like, I hate when people speak in absolutes. The idea is like when we use certain supplementation, like your diet should be perfect first. You have no need for that, blah blah blah. Cool. In an ideal world, your client should have a perfect diet, or someone should have a perfect diet. However, the likelihood that someone in 2022 that's never been exposed to nutrition before, other than what they've seen on, like, or heard about on a fucking, I don't know, magazine or something like that, and trying to do keto, the likelihood that they have a perfect diet is 0.0001%. Supplementation is literally the name. You're supplementing what's lacking. The implication that a client should just simply have a perfect diet, therefore don't need subs, is, I don't know, it's redundant to me, not really helping, because it
Yeah.
would just be in conjunction with the missing parts.
Yeah, and it's literally what you said. I don't think anyone knows what the perfect diet is these days.
No,
So
it's not right. Like,
no, it's
so
like,
to imply that there isn't a room in there for supplementation, whether that be vitamins, whether that be protein, like, and again, you look at the product. What is the product supposed to do? Protein powders. It's not essential, but at the same time, if you're struggling to get in 250, 300 grams of protein and have the time to eat, and you find it easy to drink, and you got a high calorie phase, and you want to do less chewing, protein powders make a perfect example. Fucking pre-workouts, whether people like them or not, they're
yeah,
they're
well,
serving a
we're taking advantage of the science that we have now.
exactly,
It's like we're taking
That's,
advantage of the new age. Like we're able to do that. It's like
yeah,
watching Back to the Future and you put the little pizza in the thing and it expands. Like,
yeah,
if that happens, you're going to be fucking all over it. Like, shut
100%.
up.
Yeah,
We're just
I
not
do,
there
I do,
yet, but we have protein powder, so it's
yeah.
okay.
I do like that irony of people, um It's almost like not so much selling out, but it depends where the position is first. That, if they have a hard anti-stance and then try to like brush it off by like sneakily aligning with a brand now or
Oh
like
yeah,
pushing a
that's
product, it's
yeah,
like, yeah,
100%.
sell
Yeah,
out.
yeah. If you're the person that turns around and says, "Oh, you need the perfect diet," and then you go selling a protein company, like being sponsored by a protein company and endorsing it, well, you're a sellout.
Mm-hmm.
If you're someone that's like, well, these fat burners, uh,
Yeah,
fat burners are so bad they don't do anything. They're just caffeine. Bam, bam, bam. Oh, here we go. 10% code for my fat burner. It's like, you
yeah,
fucking kidding me? Like,
yeah,
you're on crack.
yeah.
But if you're saying,
Um,
Clen is the bomb, and then you start endorsing Clen, well, I'm all for it.
yes, and
Yes.
Trump.
Yeah.
Body dysmorphia in men. Not enough people talk about it in the industry. I agree. It is actually being shown pretty much that muscle dysmorphia is the highest in men, though the
Yeah.
data and the marketing or the advertising around body image is
It's
heavily
all
dominated by females.
females, but we know that
But
statistically men have the bigger.
the greater propensity for
Yeah.
body image around muscle dysmorphia. So yes, it is definitely a huge problem. I've not to get too deep or complex on a political topic, but seen where all the memes back in the day that used to be like, um, how do you expect girls to grow up in a non-beauty standard society when this is the expectation? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Barbie doll. And then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, cool, that's fine. I get that. And I agree. However,
We had the
as we
equivalent.
come up through the ages, men have Goku, Hulk, Thor, fucking Action Man, Iron Man,
GI Joe,
fucking
like.
GI Joes. We have like the expectation of a toy that we have to purchase is
Yeah.
that they are jacked and shredded and they look sick. That they're these combatant, like super awesome super soldiers,
Yeah.
like that. That establishes an expectation of appearance long before anything else. We go back through history and the things that we idolize, that men are idolized for, the tales of deeds and the tales of legacies and the 12 what do you call it, 12 the 12 heroic deeds of
Yeah.
Hercules and things like that. Like they're setting these expectations of
I mean,
that's how we're supposed to look. And don't get me wrong, I believe every man should be at least strong. They should be strong in their area. They should be physically active to a degree that their body's capable of handling old age and being productive in society. The degree of that intensity obviously comes down to whether you want to bodybuild or be a powerlifter or sports, whatever. But generally the most health issues can be reduced if we get people moving and being more physically active and make the most of the physical body they have. I believe Socrates said that, Aristotle, no man should grow old without understanding the strength his body possesses. I believe that is
yeah.
true. You're gifted with the ability to have a strong body. You should probably make the most of it. But yeah, it's definitely an under discussed topic that I think maybe Matter goes into a little bit more down the track, because it is a heavily misunderstood area that we think men don't experience it, or beauty standards aren't set for men, or sexual standards aren't set for men, or what have you. Yet, here's a question to return to that. Do you buy fireman catalogs or fireman, what do you call it, calendars of the dad bod fireman or the shredded fireman covered in oil? It's definitely not the dad bod fireman catalogs.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's funny because you can always, if you really want to like take it to that point, it's kind of like, oh, look at the oldest statues in the world and the oldest paintings in the world, and look
Greek
at all the
Greek gods, literally Greek physique.
look at all the men and how they look
Yeah,
or how they're designed, and it's kind of like, well, we didn't stand a chance. At least I feel like a lot of the time when they depict women, especially in the ancient times, standard, curvy, a
mm-hmm.
little bit bigger, not really
Mm-hmm.
thin, guys, lean, jacked.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like, I mean, like, yeah, you can claim, don't get me wrong, as the, ages have gone on and, evolution and whatnot, females, yes, have been a little bit, I guess, unfair in that aspect because, yes, they're expected to look a certain way or be a certain way based on, the past and all that. But it is just as equal for men as it is for women.
100%.
And to be honest, statistically,
Worse.
it is worse for men than it is for women. The difference is men don't report it as often because
Yes,
it's seen as weak. And we won't get into that
correct.
conversation because that goes down a whole nother rabbit hole. So,
Correct.
um, yeah, it is a very confronting stat, and it's can
It
be very
is.
hard to listen to both for men and women because it's pretty, I think, confronting. It's like a lot of
Yes,
like
100%.
people don't probably would realize that, but it's funny how many people. It's like, and you'd have the same like in Gen Pop and like Chris Hemsworth or whatever. They're just like, oh, like how do you look like that? It's just
Yeah,
like, man, not even he looks like that all the time. But it's like it
yeah.
takes a lot of hard work. Like I'm not going to discredit the work that's involved,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of shit that goes into that, and it's also the fact that he's paid millions of dollars to look that way, which makes it a lot easier.
It makes it a lot easier when that corporation's going to pay you to take
so
time off to train, eat, grow, build.
but that's the role model for kids, and it's not like he's not a good role model. Like you see him,
Oh yeah,
he's a family man. He's awesome. He's funny, charismatic,
successful.
all of it. Like
he's had a great
like
rags to riches story.
yeah, like great. But then from a physical standpoint, that's what young boys, young men will see and be like, well, I need to look like that. And then on the flip side to it, and I talk from personal experience, it's like, well, being younger, like girls are like, oh my God, like look at him. And then you think, well, I need to look like him, otherwise I'm not good enough. And then it just spirals.
I saw a video not too long ago.
I mean?
It was like a reel. Yeah. I saw a reel on Instagram the other day, and the video was something like dude was interviewing chicks in the gym, and it was like, what do you think the gold standard physique is for men? And this chick, before even finished, was ready to jump on the answer and was like, Bumstead.
Yeah, well, like, I was about to say there was a reel
to have
there's a reel the last 2 days
that's the gold standard. Like you've set a bar unreachable.
Yeah, there's literally a reel going around of Bumstead. They've shown his transformation from 2017, 18 to last year or whatever. And you know how many girls have posted it like with a drooling face or like calling him daddy and stuff like that. Now, like, don't get me wrong, like if you think he's attractive, that's totally fine. Like, but then are you setting your own expectations really, really high for the guy that, like, don't get me wrong, I think all the girls that I saw post it were single, or I think maybe 1 or 2 might be in a relationship from what I know. But I'm like, is this your problem? Like, because there's only one of these people. Like, there is only one Bumstead, right?
Literally the 0 of 1%.
Yeah, and he has a missus. Like, like, anyway, it's just funny, just an observation. It's just like, well,
no, I agree.
Anyway,
that is all there that I have.
All right. Well, we've been rambling on for a bit, so
we've ranted for a hot minute. Yes.
Leave it there.
I am tired and going to have some sleep and play some Sony.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and set up my house a little bit more. God help me.
Very nice. Have fun with that.
I'd say if there's anything that we need to know about, but I imagine we're on chill mode for a while, which is good.
We're on chill mode. There's some big things. There's definitely some big things coming post-comp. We've already started assessing and looking at where I want to improve and expand and what the business has been doing in the background that, we've been stagnant in content, but we've been definitely putting things in place for afterwards. So expect a big bounce back out of this where it's focusing on followers and listeners and clients again. That there's some big cool things coming that I could almost say we're pioneering that. I don't know of who do yet, and I think it's going to be a really hot take for us and a really interesting point that when you see it, you're going to be like, holy fuck, why did no one think of this? But we'll dive into that after comp when it starts happening.
I like it. Just got clients coming on and usual shit for me, so we'll see how we go with that moving forward. But other than that, not much going on as per usual.
Very good.
That is it from us, ladies and gentlemen. As always,
appreciate it, guys.
If you have any questions, put it in the question box now that I make Ben put up on a Wednesday morning.
I did, yes. Also, subscribe to the YouTube because you've got you're gonna see my chisel face, and then also our YouTube now is coming out with like 6 episodes of prep so far, which is pretty cool. So I think that's been coming along quite nicely.
What we need to do is like the evolution of Ben's face as the weeks have gone on. So instead of your transformation pics or like, you going just the face.
Yeah, just off-season fluff face to the sunken jaw face.
Yeah, just like weekly face. Face check.
I think that's why Chrissy kept his beard. So he's just been like
100%. That's it from us, guys.
That's it.
Have a great weekend and goodbye.